Horcrux creation is regarded as the darkest of all magical practices. Unlike curses that harm others, this ritual wounds the caster's very soul. To create one, a wizard must commit murder, the ultimate act of tearing life away. This violent rupture of the soul is then sealed through secret incantations, embedding a fragment into an object of the caster's choice. The result is a Horcrux, an anchor to life that keeps its maker tethered to the world even if their body is destroyed. The lure is obvious, immortality, yet the cost is devastating. Each Horcrux leaves the creator less human, their soul increasingly fractured and grotesque. Tom Riddle's transformation into Lord Voldemort, his face snake-like, his voice inhuman, was not only symbolic, but the physical consequence of mutilating his own essence. Horcruxes themselves are cursed, malevolent objects. They corrupt anyone who comes near them, as seen with the diary that possessed Ginny Weasley and the locket that poisoned the minds of those who carried it. Destroying them is nearly as difficult as making them, requiring destructive magic powerful enough to annihilate the soul fragment within. At Hogwarts, this knowledge is forbidden even in theory. To teach Horcrux making would not simply risk abuse, it would plant the seed of an idea capable of unraveling the morality of magic itself.
Avada Kedavra, the killing curse, is the darkest spell in the wizarding world. Its purpose is terrifyingly simple: to end life in an instant. No blood, no wounds, no visible damage. Victims collapse as if asleep, but they will never wake. This absence of struggle makes the curse even more unsettling: death without a trace. What makes Avada Kedavra uniquely feared is its finality. There is no counter-curse, no shield charm, no defensive spell that can block it. Traditional protections crumble when faced with that flash of green light. Only rare, extraordinary magic, like the ancient love protection that saved Harry Potter, has ever deflected it. The mechanics of the spell are deceptively easy. It doesn't require complex wand movements or elaborate rituals. The true barrier is intent. The caster must wholeheartedly desire their target's death. Doubt, hesitation, or conflicted emotions render the curse useless. That moral demand is why so few can cast it successfully. At Hogwarts, it is strictly forbidden because teaching it would normalize murder itself. To wield Avada Kedavra is not simply to master a spell, it is to cross a line that forever binds a wizard to darkness.
Crucio destroys through agony. Known as the Cruciatus Curse, its purpose is not to end life, but to shatter it. When cast, the victim is overwhelmed by unbearable pain, as though every nerve is set on fire and every bone is breaking at once. Unlike other curses, the suffering leaves no visible wounds, but the mind and body remember every second. The real cruelty of Crucio lies in its psychology. The spell cannot be cast with simple anger. To work properly, the caster must truly want their target to suffer. Malice, genuine, sadistic pleasure in another's torment is what fuels the curse. Without that intent, the curse fizzles into nothing more than a sting. This emotional requirement makes it one of the clearest markers of a dark wizard. Extended exposure can cause permanent insanity, as it did to Frank and Alice Longbottom, who were tortured until their minds collapsed. At Hogwarts, Crucio is forbidden because it strips magic of all its higher purpose. To practice it is to treat pain as a weapon and cruelty as an art no student should ever be taught.
Fiendfire, cursed living flames. Fiendfire is destruction given form. Unlike ordinary fire, this cursed blaze develops a will of its own, twisting into colossal serpents, lions, and dragons that hunt relentlessly. It consumes everything in its path: flesh, stone, even enchanted objects such as Horcruxes. Once unleashed, it spreads with terrifying speed, turning rooms, forests, or entire battlegrounds into raging infernos. The danger lies not just in its power, but in its refusal to obey. Controlling Fiendfire demands mastery few possess. Even skilled dark wizards risk losing command, at which point the fire turns indiscriminately on friend and foe alike. When Vincent Crabbe attempted it in the Room of Requirement, the flames rose beyond his control, destroying centuries of hidden artifacts and consuming him in the process. Ordinary extinguishing charms and water are useless against fiend fire. It adapts and grows, feeding on magical energy as much as on matter. Only the rarest forms of countermagic or immediate escape offer a chance of survival. At Hogwarts, the spell is forbidden because it is chaos disguised as magic. To teach it would be to hand students a weapon that even its masters cannot fully control.
Imperio. The Imperious Curse, or Imperio, is perhaps the most insidious of the unforgivable curses. It does not wound the body or cause pain. Instead, it robs a person of the very thing that makes them human: free will. Under its influence, the victim becomes a puppet, carrying out orders without resistance and often with a chilling sense of calm satisfaction. To them, obedience feels natural, even pleasant. This manipulation makes the curse a perfect tool of domination. A victim can betray loved ones, commit crimes, or even leap to their death, all while believing it to be their own choice. Only witches and wizards of extraordinary willpower can resist its grip, as Harry Potter managed during the Triwizard Tournament. But such resistance is rare. For most, the curse burrows too deeply, dulling their thoughts until they yield completely. Its danger extends beyond the battlefield. During Voldemort's rise, the Imperious Curse blurred the line between guilt and innocence. Some Death Eaters claimed they acted under its control to escape justice, while others truly had no memory of their crimes. At Hogwarts, Imperio is banned because it corrupts identity itself. To teach it would be to sanction slavery of the mind, a violation more terrifying in many ways than death.
Infurious animation. Infurious animation is the dark spell that reanimates corpses, turning the dead into mindless servants. These creations, called Inferi, are not alive, but puppets of magic, cold, unthinking, and relentless. Unlike zombies from folklore, they don't wander aimlessly. They follow their master's commands with precision, making them an ideal weapon for intimidation and attack. The horror of Inferi lies in both the physical and the psychological. Physically, they cannot feel pain, cannot be reasoned with, and will not stop until their target is destroyed or captured. Psychologically, they are often the bodies of loved ones, stripped of dignity and weaponized against the living. To face an Inferius is to confront both death and desecration. Voldemort weaponized this spell to terrifying effect, filling a subterranean lake with an army of Inferi to guard one of his Horcruxes. When disturbed, hundreds of pale hands dragged victims toward the water, a scene designed to overwhelm through terror before any duel could begin. The only reliable defense against Inferi is fire, which they instinctively fear, but even that requires presence of mind in the face of horror. Hogwarts forbids this spell because it violates the most sacred boundary of magic, the dignity of the dead, turning grief into a weapon and corpses into tools of war.
Maledictions. Maledictions are lingering curses that outlast the moment of casting. Unlike ordinary hexes, which fade with time or can be countered, maledictions cling to their victims like a disease. They warp the body, weaken the spirit, and in some cases, pass down through generations. The most infamous example is the blood malediction that afflicted Astoria Greengrass, leaving her frail and marked for an early death. For the caster, the appeal lies in endurance. A duel may end in minutes, but a malediction continues its work for years, ensuring that the victim suffers long after the wand has been lowered. Some are crafted to disfigure, others to sap vitality, and others to shorten life itself. Their cruelty is not in immediate destruction, but in slow, relentless erosion. Breaking a malediction is almost impossible. Even the most skilled healers can only manage symptoms, not cures. Attempts to undo them often carry risks as great as the curse itself, making permanent scars, physical or magical, common. At Hogwarts, maledictions are forbidden because they transform magic into a lifelong sentence. To teach them would be to hand students the ability to inflict suffering that endures across years or generations, a lesson that corrodes the very idea of magic as a force for growth and wonder.
Sectum Sempra.
Sectum Sempra is not an ancient relic of dark magic, but the invention of a student, Severus Snape, during his years at Hogwarts under the alias of the Half-Blood Prince. Unlike jinxes or hexes meant to inconvenience or disarm, Sectum Sempra was designed with only one purpose: violence. It conjures invisible blades that slice deep into flesh, leaving wounds that bleed heavily and can prove fatal within moments. Its danger lies in how deceptively simple it is to cast. A whispered incantation can unleash injuries as devastating as a sword strike, yet undoing the damage is almost impossible. Only Snape himself mastered the counter-curse, Vulnera Sanentur, meaning that for most victims, there is no effective treatment. The imbalance between how easily it can be inflicted and how rarely it can be healed makes Sectum Sempra especially lethal. Harry Potter learned this truth when he used it against Draco Malfoy in a moment of desperation. The result was catastrophic. Draco collapsed in a pool of his own blood, saved only by Snape's intervention. At Hogwarts, Sectum Sempra is forbidden because it embodies magic twisted into a concealed weapon. Teaching it would blur the line between defense and murder, giving students a blade they could wield with a single word.
Blood magic. Blood magic is one of the oldest and most secretive forms of sorcery, drawing power directly from life itself. Unlike charms or transfigurations, which manipulate external forces, blood magic binds identity, lineage, and sacrifice into spells that can reshape reality. Its appeal lies in permanence. Wards fueled by blood endure for generations, and protections rooted in kinship can outlast death itself. At its core, blood magic is transactional. Power is gained by giving something away, sometimes as little as a drop, other times a life. Lily Potter's sacrifice is a rare example of blood magic used for protection. Her death sealed Harry in a shield Voldemort could not break for years. But dark wizards twist the same forces to bind servants, curse bloodlines, or tether themselves unnaturally to life. Voldemort's resurrection required bone, flesh, and stolen blood, each chosen for symbolic power. The danger is twofold. First, it demands acts that are irreversible. Second, once performed, blood magic lingers, etching itself into the very fabric of the person or place it touches. Even the caster may not escape the consequences of their own ritual. At Hogwarts, blood magic is forbidden because it turns life into currency. Teaching it would mean instructing students to bargain with their very humanity, a cost too high for any spell to justify.
The unbreakable vow is not a curse in the traditional sense, but its consequences are absolute. It is a binding magical contract that seals spoken promises with living fire. 3 participants are required: the one making the vow, the one receiving it, and a binder who weaves the flames around their clasped hands. Once sealed, the vow fuses into the life force of the speaker. If they attempt to break their promise, death strikes instantly. The appeal of the spell is certainty. Where trust falters, the unbreakable vow removes doubt. Families, allies, and conspirators have used it to guarantee loyalty, protect secrets, or ensure that dangerous tasks are carried out. Yet this assurance comes at the highest cost: freedom itself. Once sworn, there is no loophole, no escape, and no second chance. Severus Snape's vow with Narcissa Malfoy is the clearest example. In swearing to protect Draco and finish his mission, Snape tied his own life to a boy's success or failure. The spell made betrayal or hesitation impossible. At Hogwarts, this ritual is forbidden because it teaches permanence without mercy. To place life and death on a single spoken promise is to gamble recklessly with fate, something too dangerous for any classroom to permit.
Cursed objects. Cursed objects are traps disguised as ordinary possessions. On the surface, they may look beautiful or harmless, a necklace, a book, a cabinet, but hidden within is a spell designed to harm anyone who touches or uses them.
Once activated, the effects range from searing pain to paralysis, madness, or even death. What makes cursed objects so dangerous is their deception. Unlike open curses, which reveal themselves in combat, these items wait silently until curiosity or trust springs the trap. The opal necklace that nearly killed Katie Bell is one example. A brush of skin was enough to unleash agony. Other artifacts lingered in circulation for decades, harming victim after victim while concealing their true nature. For dark wizards, the motivation is efficiency. A cursed item can spread suffering without the caster being present, leaving behind only confusion and fear. For those who handle them, curse breakers, auras, or unlucky bystanders, the difficulty lies in detection. Many curses are layered with protections that resist even advanced magic, punishing attempts to disarm them. At Hogwarts, this practice is forbidden because even a minor mistake in crafting can rebound on the creator. To teach students how to lace malice into objects would turn every wand, quill, or trinket into a potential weapon, an environment no school could survive.
Legilimency. Legilimency is the magical art of penetrating in others' thoughts, emotions, and memories. To a skilled legilimens, the human mind opens like a book, secrets, fears, and hidden truths laid bare without consent. While not inherently lethal, it is one of the most violating forms of magic. To the victim, it feels like pressure behind the eyes, a force tearing through defenses until private thoughts are no longer their own. The danger lies in its subtlety. A legilimens can pull information, manipulate emotions, or even plant false impressions. Voldemort mastered this craft, using it to uncover lies, infiltrate memories, and exploit Harry Potter through their mental connection. Snape, too, wielded it in occlumency lessons, plunging into Harry's mind with brutal precision. Defenses exist, occlumency, the discipline of shielding the mind with sheer willpower, but few ever master it. Most wizards live their lives unaware of how exposed they really are. At Hogwarts, legilimency is forbidden because it corrupts the foundation of trust. In a school, teaching students to pry into each other's minds would turn every classroom into a battlefield of stolen answers and weaponized secrets. Magic that robs privacy is no less dangerous than magic that takes life.
Memory charms, most notably Obliviate, are not classified as dark magic by default. The Ministry uses them routinely to conceal the wizarding world from muggles, yet in the wrong hands they become tools of profound violation. A memory charm can erase a single event as if it never happened, or worse, rewrite entire portions of a person's life. Victims may go on believing false histories, living identities built on illusions. This subtlety makes the spell dangerous. Unlike a curse that scars or kills, memory alteration leaves no trace. A skilled caster can remove knowledge of crimes, shift loyalties, or even erase the very existence of loved ones. Gilderoy Lockhart exploited this magic to steal the accomplishments of others, and when his charm backfired, it left his own mind in ruins, proof that tampering with memory is as risky for the caster as it is for the victim. The cruelty lies in permanence. Once a memory is erased with precision, recovery is nearly impossible. Healers compare repairing an obliviated mind to rewriting a burned book. The words may be gone forever. At Hogwarts, advanced memory charms are forbidden because they reduce human experience to clay. To teach them without limits would hand students the ability to erase mistakes, silence rivals, or alter identities, a quiet power more destructive than fire or steel.
Mors Mordre, the spell that conjures Voldemort's infamous Dark Mark, is less about physical destruction and more about psychological domination. When cast, it projects a vast green skull with a serpent coiling from its mouth, burning against the sky. Wherever it appeared, fear followed. To the wizarding world, the symbol meant death had already occurred or was moments away. The power of Mors Mordre lies in its symbolism. Unlike Avada Kedavra or Crucio, it does not harm directly, yet it paralyzes communities with dread. The mark served as both a warning and a rallying cry for Voldemort's followers. In the First and Second Wizarding Wars, it became the Death Eater's calling card, announcing their control and leaving survivors terrified. Its technical mechanics are straightforward, a conjuration woven with illusion, but the true danger is cultural. Even after Voldemort's fall, the Dark Mark retained its ability to terrify. A single flash of it in the sky could send entire crowds into panic, proof that fear can outlast the spellcaster. At Hogwarts, Mors Mordre is forbidden because it weaponizes memory itself. To teach it would risk normalizing terror as a magical tool, turning every student capable of burning dread into the night sky.